I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
And welcome everybody to the Libertarian Podcast Review. Thank you for joining us on a weeknight. I'm going to bring in Eric. And by the way, go over to his, and we'll talk about his show here, Rebel with a Cause. I was on there last week. We had a great discussion, and we're going to do a lot of the same here, a little free flow. But this time I'm running the show. So I just want to welcome in Eric from Rebel with a Cause. How are you doing this evening?
Better than some, not as good as most, I guess.
Okay. I feel you. I've been a little under the weather. I even came home early from work today. I said, screw it. I was just feeling like crap. Nice. And I don't know, my wife gave me something and I'm recovering and feeling much better. So I'm on the mend.
Yeah. Methamphetamines always seem to do the job. So.
Right. It did take Sudafed. You know, it's interesting. I was just thinking about this. Exactly a year ago, I had COVID. And this is not COVID, just like sore throat and, nasally and sinus stuff. But I feel worse this time than I did when I had COVID. Did you ever get the vid?
Not that I could actually show you a test and say, yeah, I had it. I was up in Dallas in 2019 in December. Mm-hmm. And I got really sick one week and I was out of work and I was like, man, I got to go find out if I've got the flu or something. So I go to the doctor's office and you know how they do the little flu test and everything, and he came back. He was like, "It's not the flu. I don't know what it is. Just bed rest, take your vitamins, get a lot of fluids and everything else. Just have to ride it out." Kind of how we used to deal with viruses,
So that was the December before all the shit hit the fan.
Yeah, 2019. Yep.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
I was really. It started going around my family last year, and my daughter lost sense of taste and smell, and then my wife too. Yeah. And then I'm like, I better have it. And I wanted to get tested just so I could come out there and be like, hey, it's not a big deal. And then I have 4 kids, and 3 of these were one was sharing a bed with her sister. The other one was, they were doing
just on top of each other and everything.
It was all mixed in and they couldn't get it. The 3 of them have never, I don't know what it is.
Gotta love those natural antibodies, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, but the loss of taste and smell seems to be consistent, and that I definitely had for a couple of days. So, it was, that feeling of having a stopped up nose, but with nothing to produce. If you blew your nose, nothing came out and everything. Yeah. It was horrible.
I did not lose my sense of taste or smell. My head just felt like I had been kind of concussed.
Yeah,
it was just really weird. But my wife did.
Headaches, body aches, the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it wasn't that big of a deal. I don't know. What do you think of this Omicron variant?
Yeah, I think it's so funny that everyone's talking about, this, look out for Omicron, Persei 8 from Futurama. Yeah. No, that was where the aliens were from after everybody ate their babies. So everyone's talking about how bad it is. And then you're looking into the symptoms of all it's mild symptoms. Sure, it might feel bad for a day or two and then you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor, but my understanding is, as it mutates, it gets either it's harder to spread and it's more deadly, or it's easier to spread and it's really just useless in a sense. And I think that's what we're seeing more and more of.
Yeah, and typically when you see stuff like this, it goes for easily transmissible and then less deadly because it's the virus is just trying to replicate as fast as possible.
Yeah. So what is your feeling about this? Because my thinking is, when they said Omicron and it was a big deal and suddenly it's not, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe I curate my news too well, but I'm not seeing a lot of they tried to scare you and, there's one in California.
Yeah, my personal favorite is I follow some Australians on TikTok because they haven't taken away their use of the internet yet.
Yeah.
And this one chick, she was going to a dentist in a different state and they blocked her from going over there, saying that she had no business going over there. She's like, I literally have a dentist appointment, and she's like, that's not a valid reason. So go back home. But they had on their news posted the one person from South Africa that I guess magically they let into the country. And then they were posting all of the places that this person had been. And she's like, look, these 2 places are an hour apart from each other. And they're saying that they were there. And then 10 minutes later, they were at the other place. So the news media is not even trying down there.
No.
That's not
that surprising, I guess. I don't know. I just am feeling like at some point it's going to just, be done. I'm not like we've talked about this. I'm in California, which has a reputation of some shitty stuff going on, but I'm just on kind of the outskirts. I own my own business, so I've never had to implement any of this.
Yeah.
We didn't even wear masks around here, and for the most part, it's really interesting. So I'm in Sacramento County, okay, but I'm right on the edge, and right on the edge where we're at, we don't wear them. Some people do, some people don't. No one gives me anything. And as you get closer into the heart of Sacramento County, they get a little bit more stringent. So
my aunt and uncle used to live up near Sacramento back in the 80s, and it was like small town USA, if you were like in those outlying areas, and it was just like really nice up there.
Oh yeah.
And then just kind of seeing how it's progressed since then, it's just like, oh man, what I wouldn't give to go back there.
I know, and it is sad. I mean, back then, we had Reagan as far as governor, and then I'm trying to remember who it was. Obviously Brown, but there was another Republican. I think he was the one that I'm trying to remember his name. I didn't live here at the time, but he was really big in pushing. Was it Prop 8 at the time? Kind of like the thing about illegal aliens, and so I know that really kind of flipped the state at the time. Just anyway, that's kind of now we're forever. I mean, the legislature is like a veto-proof Democrat.
Yeah. I guess that's all in the way that you guys do your representation there. It's like a whole bunch of smaller counties basically get like zero representation. So
yeah, that's kind of the way it is. You have a big county like Orange County is kind of the blue or the red, I guess, in their sense. We have Placer County up here, which is that way as well. But they're getting anyway. Enough about the shitty old California. But what I'm saying is, even in that, you have your pockets and you have your northern part, which is very, we talked about this last time, the state of Jefferson, and you're very independent. So what's your feeling of wearing, Justin O'Donnell's talked about not wearing a jacket. That's why people don't want to, they don't want to go to the Free State Project.
Free State Project. I know a lot of people that live up there, and I just wish them well. And I wouldn't have picked that they was going to be on the list of states that might possibly secede first. And I had Alu Axelman on, and he was talking about they were, getting legislation trying to push through that they would just disaffiliate with the United States.
Yeah,
I guess just another way of saying secede. And I was like talking to a friend of mine at work about that, and he was like, "Oh, really? New Hampshire? I wouldn't have thought them. I thought Texas." I was like, "Yeah, everyone thinks Texas, but my friend just sent me this," and then showed him the email. It was like, "Yeah, we have state legislatures thinking about disaffiliating." And his eyes got wide, and he was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, I know. It's a pretty crazy time that we live in."
And how has Louisiana been for the most part?
Yeah, Louisiana was kind of weird at the beginning. So you didn't really see too strict a following of the measures and everything, like on the outside of Baton Rouge. And then when you got into Baton Rouge, you started seeing people wearing masks and stuff indoors, and people getting kind of weird about it. Have employees standing at the door like the first couple of weeks, and then after that, it was like you could get probably yelled at for not wearing a mask if you were inside. And then after a few weeks of that, it was like, okay, we're not going to say anything. It's like the only place in town that really gave me any kind of grief about it was a Whole Foods, and they nearly called the cops on me. That was kind of fun. But
that's interesting. Whole Foods out here, they were one of the first to say that they weren't going to mandate something, vaccines for their employees, I think was one of them.
Yeah.
My wife goes in there and she doesn't wear one at all. Trader Joe's is a little bit more strict.
Yeah, I never tried Trader Joe's. I think after the cops nearly getting called on me at Whole Foods, I was like, I'm going to stay away from the bougie stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they had a guy standing outside, and he had like the hand sanitizer and the little box of masks and everything, and I just disregard these people. I just walk right past them. And then I got served all the way back to the dairy section. So I was just there to get some heavy cream for my coffee. Right. And then leave. I was there for literally one thing, but everyone else in the store is like wearing a mask, and they're all like, standing back from me and everything. And then once I got up to the checkout counter, they had the sheet of plexiglass in front, and the girl didn't want to check me out because I wasn't wearing a mask. And I was like, why not? Just check me out real quick. I'll get the hell out of here, and then you don't have to ever see me again. Manager comes over and he goes, "Oh, you need a mask?" I was like, "I'm exempt." He's like, "Nobody's exempt." I was like, go get the mask mandate order, and let's go look at section 3. And then when he goes and gets it, he looks down at his copy, which is highlighted, the section for exemptions. And I was like, your copy is highlighted. That means to you, you thought it was important enough that you needed to highlight it so that you can quickly find it on the page the next time you had to look at it.
Yeah. What was the exemption?
Oh, just anybody who has a hard time breathing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they had some kind of pre-existing medical condition, or if they had a hard time breathing in a mask, they didn't have to wear it. Yeah. That's the governor's rules, right? So,
yeah.
You know, because all these things are written by lawyers, they got exemptions up one side, down the other, but nobody reads it. So.
Right. Right. I was up visiting my son. He's in Washington for college, and that's actually where my parents live. And there's this tiny little airport. It's called Walla Walla. It's the name of the town. If anybody's ever heard of it.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's heard of that one.
Okay. Well, Simpsons, right? They're like, he's in clown college, and they're like, yeah, these 3 funny names: Cucamonga, Seattle, Walla Walla.
Yeah.
Anyway, and
wait until they get down to Mississippi and they find Tishomingo and Pascagoula and all that. Yeah.
Anyway, we're up there and we're leaving, and my mom's not she's had some breathing problems, but she's pretty healthy. She already had COVID, and she's not wearing a mask, and she's telling me goodbye at the airport. And me and my wife, and this lady behind us just has a fit. She has her mask on, and she's telling my mom to get away. And then she
full Karen. Oh no.
Yeah. Then it's a little thing that you have to do, and you go up to the TSA guy, and his back is to my mom, and mom's just standing there. And then this lady comes up, and she's like, that lady back there is not wearing her mask. And he looks at her and he goes, unless she's over there, I don't care. And this lady just lost it. Then she's like yelling at other people. And I'm like, man, it's going to be a long day for you, lady. It was.
Oh my God. Crazy. Man, drink some alcohol and take a chill pill or something.
Right. Something like that. So a few things, and I want to get into your podcast specifically, but let's take some news of the day just as it comes. So Bob Dole passes away.
Oh, old Bob Dole.
What are your thoughts and memories if you want to eulogize good old Bob Dole?
Let's see. So that was right around the time I was becoming politically aware when he started running against the Clintons in the, 96, I think?
I think so.
Yeah, so he came to Louisiana to get on a little stump speech. So he was right down at LSU, and I decided...
His pen.
Yeah, he had his pen in his gimp hand and everything, which was hilarious because I tried to shake him in that same gimp hand and felt like an asshole afterwards. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Because he reached around with his other hand and gave me like the backward shake from the other hand, and it was like, oh, damn it.
Oh, he's had that. But that was before the days of the fist bump, too, probably.
Yeah. Nobody was, at least white people weren't fist bumping back then. At least I don't think.
Good point.
Yeah, and he gave a whole speech and everything, and it's like afterwards, then we were treated to his erectile dysfunction commercials there for a couple of years.
That's right. I think I was flipping around this morning. I was trying to remember. I think it must have been Steven Crowder. They were talking about the Super Bowl ad, and it was Britney Spears dancing around, and then then it goes to Bob Dole, and he's there with his dog, and he's like, "Down, boy," and it's like, I think she was 17 at the time. It's a little creepy. But
yep. Oops, she did it again.
Right. Yeah. So you're Bob Dole. So were you more of a right when you came into politics?
Yeah. I kind of started off like on the right wing of things, and there was just kind of because at the time, it was Bill Clinton was selling space secrets to China through Loral Space and everything else, and the liberals were just bad for the country and everything. And we were always kind of like suspicious of what the government was doing all the way up there. And then, stupidly in 1998, I joined the Army after high school. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
1998. So and how long were you in? I imagine you were in when 9/11 happened. Wait, you said 88?
No, 1998. 98.
Okay, yeah, so you were in there then, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I spent a whole 5 months and 22 days, and I had a hernia.
Well, then you weren't.
Yeah, and this was right after we had done an exercise where we were training how to take prisoners, which is important for infantrymen because that's how you get all your intelligence, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the drill sergeants thought he was just going to be a little comedian and says, okay, now this group, I want you to say, I'm an American and I have rights. So, hand shoots up, drill sergeant, when are we ever going to be capturing American citizens because we don't operate on American soil? And then he just looked at me without, smiling or missing a beat, not joking at all. He goes, remember that shit that happened in Los Angeles a few years ago? Referring to the Rodney King riots and everything. He goes, one day they'll beg for us to be there.
Oh.
I was like, oh okay. Yeah, so after that, I was like, failed a PT test and found the hernia and everything. So when I got back after surgery and everything, I was like, yeah, I need to go. I hear my mom calling me. I got to go.
So this was coordinated on your part then to kind of get yourself out?
Yeah. I was like, I wasn't really trying too hard with the PT test, and then of course after they fix a hernia and everything, you kind of have like an out there.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, they just let me go. I'm not going to be any good. So
Did you get a like a disability discharge?
no, I was like trying for expediency at that point, so I just opted for a general entry level separation at the point. So I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to absolve you of whatever wrongdoing and just let me go, get me out of here.
So you got a divorce. That's good.
Yeah.
Usually, you think about like the military for a normal job in comparison. I don't like my job. I just get to quit. And you don't get to do that with the military. I mean, you have to go through some steps. You have to get a hernia.
Yeah, if I was there a little bit longer than 6 months, then they have to do a completely different process for that. And that takes a while. So like in my case, it was like 2 weeks and had to sign some paperwork, and then I got to get out of there. So
and were you happy about that, or did you feel a little, like you didn't complete it, or was
I mean, 18 years old, you get like all of the emotions and everything swimming up in your head. It's like, oh man, I shouldn't have quit. I should have stayed with it. Change it from the inside. Type stuff, and then you get out and then you start reading the news like a little bit closer than you were before, and you're like, oh man, I dodged a bullet here. And then 9/11 happened. I was like, oh, phew, thank God.
Yeah, that's now were you still kind of right wing at the time?
Yeah, I was actually a little more fuck the whole system at the time. Yeah, because that's what happens in your youth. And you get constantly told what to do by everybody, and you smoke weed for the first time, and then you're like, oh wow, they're just lying to us.
Weed is what does it.
Yeah. I was like, this isn't as dangerous as they made it out to be. I don't feel the need to like slap my mom around after smoking this. I kind of feel like I just need to sit and relax a little bit. Yeah.
So you didn't watch the Reefer Madness movie then?
Yeah, we got kind of treated to some of that, BS. The DARE officers would show up in some Camaro that they had robbed from a drug dealer or something with the DARE stuff all the side of it. It was like, yeah, marijuana is the gateway drug. You smoke marijuana once, then you're going to want to inject. I was like, that's really not what happens at all.
Yeah. I was a clean kid. I didn't do all that stuff, and I don't really have any problems with it, but I'm all for legalizing it now. It was never a problem. My friends did that, and it's just I was just a good kid.
Yeah, I mean, as far as teenagers, when I was back there, I mean, we had more access to hard liquor than anything else. So
yeah, totally. I mean, I went to a private high school, and there was a lot of weed, a lot of booze going around there. I wouldn't know how that always happened, but it did. So and it enhanced the high school experience, by the way.
Yeah, you would just raid the old man liquor cabinet, and then he would come back, a week later, and then finally have some of the whiskey, and he was like, "Wow, is this watered down?"
Is that what you do? You fill it up with water?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's better than him just thinking he was an alcoholic and
right. It was just having no effect on him.
Right. Yeah. So so you're a rebellious guy. You go into the military. You're kind of a Bob Dole fan, but you're not. I don't know what you are. How did you get into this weird space of anarchist or minarchist or libertarian, or what are you? Agorist?
Yeah. Well, like this, I'm just like anarchist. No adjectives really, but it's like I had a brief little dalliance with the Constitution Party, because then I was like thinking, well, if we just had followed the Constitution, then none of this would have happened.
Right.
And then you start talking to Constitution Party people, and that's more of a Republican circle jerk than anything else. Yeah. So it's like, okay, yeah, this is just not for me. I'll just be politically homeless for a long time. And then you find out from it's like, there is a Libertarian Party here in Louisiana. I'll go see what they're all about. So kind of get involved with them for a few years. Was actually made it all the way up to the elections chair for the state party of Louisiana, and then in 2018, when you go to the national convention, you're hearing side conversations take place and how they treated Josh Smith and everything else, and you're just like, you know what, this is just not my speed. I need to get out of here. So ever since then, I've just like, okay, have fun with that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, I made a pretty distinctive. I've always been interested in politics, and Republican, conservative. I was very conservative, and then but with a lot of libertarian leanings. I mean, I had read Bastia early on. I remember a friend gave that to me in the late '90s, and it blew my mind. Because it's it's very libertarian, but it's kind of that. And I didn't go much further. I read that. I'd read Ayn Rand. I Atlas Shrugged. Yeah. So there's a lot that's kind of some crossovers. I know she's not libertarian. But
no, not at all.
no, but my point is, and I remember thinking, I think Dennis Prager says something like, more government, less government, more freedom, whatever he says, something like that. And so you go, well, so he still doesn't want you to have total freedom then, because right, he still wants some government. And I finally have come to that conclusion myself. So what would you say? You're not with any adjectives or anything, descriptors on your libertarian or your freedom, but what's kind of your philosophy?
Leave people alone for the most part. There's really no need for any kind of organization to intercede on anybody's personal life. That's a different story on my neighbors, though. Like if I look across the yard and I see my neighbor smacking his kid around or something, then it's like, hey, stop doing that. Yeah. But I even had neighbors down here. We're okay now, but when they first moved in, they would play loud music all hours of the night, and I would just go over there and knock on the door. Hey, you're literally vibrating the floorboards in my house. Let's turn it down. And then next thing you know, a cop comes rolling up, and he's like, "Oh man, you called the cops." I was like, "No, I'm not going to call the cops on you," but the old lady who lives right next door to you probably did. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of one of those things. I'd rather deal with my neighbors, little issues here and there just on my own. I don't really need help to do that. I don't want the government to do it because they're only going to make it worse. So
I totally agree. And the more you go down that route, like me personally, I'm the same way. We have, I live in an end of a cul-de-sac, and we are, very good friends with all of the neighbors or at least acquaintances, and can try to communicate. And that's really it kind of being that man in a sense, and if there's an issue, you just go and address it. I think the society we're in right now, so people have all these things about Ancapistan in your head and whatnot, and I think some of that is because we're not willing to. Everything's a principled thing, but we're still relying so much on another authority. And actually, I was listening just a few years ago. It was a Reason podcast, but they were talking to some guy about culture, and it was a woke culture, and he was a professor, and he mentioned how he believes the bullying, the bad side of the way the bullying has overdone it, right? Which is you have all these kids, and you always have an authority. It doesn't matter who hit who first. You're always both in trouble. Yeah, and the kids are needing someone to report to, either tattling on, or an adult is always going to make the decision and the final judgment for them. So you've got this society of people that just need that, in a sense, not used to making the decisions on their own. Yeah. I'm often grateful that I was kind of like that last generation of, if you got into a fight at the school, the principal actually asked, who threw the first punch. Yeah. Right. And then you just wouldn't find that today. I was like, even with my son, he's, got into some scraps at school and everything. And then it was like, oh, no, we punished both of them. I was like, yeah, but who threw the first punch? It was like, well, that's not how we deal with it here. I was like, okay, well, then I'm going to have this conversation with my son after school and everything else. It's like, look, it's like, don't start anything. I don't mind if you finish it because I'll defend you then. But if you start it, I can't defend you, No, totally. And I've done the same with my kids, and just kind of how, especially this last few years, I have this daughter. She's a junior in high school. She's very, very independent, but she's very good. And her and I have a great connection. Yeah. And she gets in trouble for things that I don't agree with the school. I mean, if she's doing something wrong, I'm going to tell her. But I mean, like the mask thing, she's been getting in trouble at school with the mask. And I'm like, I'm not defending the school. So, you do you. Yeah, it's like we've had that argument before too. So it's like, especially down here, it's like everyone stopped doing it for a while. So it's like now I get the little pictures from my daughter's school and everything, and it's like most of the people aren't wearing it. I see like a couple of teachers in the back are, but yeah. So luckily that hadn't been too bad. But of course they don't go to public school either. So yeah, same with my kids. But that's even a problem. The private school the kids go to, I mean they're kind of cramping down too. So I'm very disappointed in all that. Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I'm looking forward to is just when finally people get the idea. It's like, oh, well, this is not going away, and we'll just have to deal with it when it comes around, and maybe look around and see that, there's not flatbed trucks delivering body bags to the local crematorium, right, to have all the bodies burned. So what do you think about that when it was first being announced? Remember, there was all these cooler trucks. There was these ships parked out in the New York Harbor. Yes. And do you think we'll ever get a good analysis of this at some point?
Probably not. They've cooked all the numbers like 6 ways to Sunday, and you can't even get people to understand. It's like, no, I grabbed these numbers from PubMed, and you got to understand that these are already inflated as they are because of the way that they're counting these things. You know, you can't get that through people's skulls because they all arrived to their position using fear and emotion because Mr. Newsman on the square box in the living room told them to. And so, yeah, you just kind of pull your hair out sometimes. It's like, oh my God, will you just look at facts here?
No, that's the tough part. And we saw that with the Rittenhouse trial as an example.
Oh, yeah,
just the facts that are, and then there's people that are. I think Kyrie Irving, he's a basketball player, black guy, and he's coming out. I was watching one of his YouTubes the other day, and he's like, seemed like self-defense, and he's getting just shit on. But
he already got in trouble from the woke mob for not getting jabbed to play basketball.
Yeah. But I don't think he cares. I mean, he's out there in like hunting gear with the phone, and he's just like not giving a shit. And I applaud that. But not everyone can be so brave, I guess.
Yeah. That's actually kind of fun. That's gonna be fun. I have to go look that up because I remember he was getting dragged about not taking the jab, and he had actually sat in the press conference. He was like, "I'm young and in good shape. I'm in excellent health. There's no reason."
Yeah, you should see it because he's out on his porch and he's got like hunting camo jacket on.
Yeah,
he's like kind of answering some questions and just going off. It's pretty stellar. But
yeah, he even seemed it was like tried to couch the language a little bit. If he said it seemed like he was self-defending himself.
Oh yeah, no, he was unequivocal kind of about how he all said this. So we got a chat here. I'm not really sure what it says. Kathleen Watson says Vartech.
I don't know.
Probably spam.
Probably. That's how you know you made the big time.
Right.
That's when the bots are coming to spam your channel.
Right. No, that's the problem. You get the comments and it's some like half nude chick, and everything. I've learned
I'll take half nude chick at this time.
Yeah. All right. So Spud is coming
Finally,
in. So
somebody real.
Let's get dirty. So Spud, we're reviewing Rebel with a Cause. This is Eric.
Yes.
So Eric, why don't we actually talk a little bit about your show? How long have you been doing this, and why did you even start a podcast?
Yeah, I've been doing it since 2017. Back in July of 2017. I have a couple of anarchist libertarian buddies here, and they started doing podcasts and everything. So we recorded one, and then they wanted to take forever with the editing process, and we just never released it or anything. I thought it was okay, but that's when the bug bit, and I was like, oh wait, I don't need to spend a lot. I can literally do this from my phone. I drive for Uber on the weekends, so I've got at least 15-20 minutes in between Uber rides. I can do this, no problem. So I started recording in my car, just like little, gonna take 3 stories: a national, a local, and an international story, and just kind of go through it that way. Because I guess libertarians all think that they're going to be, the next Dennis Miller, I guess. Start that little format, and then after a while, I started getting people on to talk with them, and I like that better because then I have somebody to play off of and everything else. So I've been doing it since 2017. So I figure I'm going to be one of those 10-year overnight successes. So in 2027, y'all look out.
Well, so that's really interesting. So did you just do it initially to YouTube, or do you post it out on podcast catchers, and you're just doing it with your phone initially? You didn't just initially it was just audio with the phone. I didn't start adding video up until about a year or so ago. I would do a weird video interview every now and then and post it. And then sometimes I would just do it on video because then I could, see the people and then just only post the audio. So I've been monkeying and tinkering with it here and there. So so Spud has a question. What you drinking tonight, Eric? That's always a good question.
That is always a good question. And unfortunately, the old LSU Yeti cup is empty tonight because I had a whole bunch of water, so I don't want to drink anymore. Otherwise, I'll explode. So,
speaking of exploding, I will tell you what I'm drinking. This is a coffee mug, but it's tea, and this is going to be one of the worst stories you've heard. This tea is called Smooth Move. Okay.
Smooth Move.
Yeah, and if you get an idea of what that is,
and it's in a brown mug.
It's a brown mug. And by the way, I looked at my calendar. You always, when I drink this, I look at my calendar the next day and make sure I don't have court. I don't really have any pressing engagements because it's detrimental. But at my age, 50, gotta.
Yeah, you got to make sure that the works are still going.
That's right. That's what.
Yes, Bud. Very sad. Very sad.
I do have beer, but I'm just not going to do it. I'm not feeling so great. So back to your podcast. So is it mostly? I mean, how often are you putting it out? Is it mostly because what I see when I check you out on? I think I probably subscribe to you on the podcast as catchers as well. But it's mostly on that I check you out as on YouTube, and you're just interviewing somebody. Is that typically what you've just done now?
Yeah, here lately I've been kind of doing this, just doing the live thing, and then releasing the audio for it later.
Yeah.
I do like the live because then we get audience interaction and everything else. So I think going forward, I'll probably do like a live episodes and then post the audio to it later.
Yeah,
it seems to be more fun.
It is, and there's an effort. So I have this. I've been doing I did a podcast. I started in 2016. It was all bike racing because I was real big into that, and I actually got pretty good size there. But it's a lot of work. And I would do the editing, and then I used to just do it where I'd record, and then I would, have an editor and Adobe, and I'd do the video and then upload it. And so when StreamYard and Zoom started coming about, or the YouTube live stuff, it's much, much quicker because talk about a lot of time and effort just for nothing.
Oh, yeah.
And my wife's like, "What are you doing?" But Bud's still going here. That's right. Association with plebs. Yes,
that's right. Got to keep them in check.
All right. So who's who are some of the big people you've had on your show?
Well, let's see. Some of the big names I've had Pete on. He was my 50th episode, and had him on probably a few months ago to talk about his new documentary about the cops that he was going to do. He wasn't feeling well for that episode. I kind of felt bad making him sit there for the whole time. You could tell like the whole time he's like dancing around because he doesn't feel good. I've had Scott Horton on. We talked about Yemen, going all the way back to 2014 with Obama. That episode actually got me kicked off of Parler, which was kind of fun. Wow. Yeah, I didn't appreciate that I was calling Trump a war criminal every single day that I was signed on to Parler, and then eventually I got enough reports on that episode, and I got booted off, just before they got taken down. So,
right. Were you using Parler much then? I mean, besides to bash out war criminal words?
Yeah, I mean, that was all I was basically using it for. It was like, okay, here's your daily reminder that Donald Trump is a war criminal. I was basically just kind of like sticking it to MAGA-tards on there, which I thought was kind of funny. Justin
joined in.
I've had Justin on. So
yeah. So tonight's Josh had my friend Andy, Garbage Maine, and then
he's a cool dude.
He is, and then Reed is doing some. So there's a lot of competition out there.
Yeah, I don't really view it so much as competition because we all kind of end up on each other's shows. We all kind of like cross promote and everything. So it's, I guess there's the competitive nature to it a little bit, but I mean, it's not like we're going cutthroat after each other. It all seems like a small little brotherhood. I guess I want to use that tainted term, but
I agree. And my goal with me and kind of doing the people like it's so niche doing podcast reviews. I'm like, okay, it's different. Right. And then I could bring on any hosts I want. So I could do conversations like this. It's just still kind of meshes in there. But actually part of my big goal with this was to just introduce people into, I would rather promote others than promote myself. And so I like to do clips, but man, let me tell you, when I really want to do a good show, it takes a lot of work. I mean, going through some of these episodes is painstaking. So it's easier to just come in here and talk to you rather than review your whole litany of shows.
Like go and grab clips of like episode 1 where the audio is all crackly and
right.
Yeah.
What was it that way?
Yeah, at first, because it just had like the iPhone headphones and just plugged directly into the phone doing that. So as much as I'll like rag on doing a podcast in your car, it has excellent acoustics. You're not really getting too much outside noise and everything. But at the same time, you can definitely tell there is a difference.
Yeah, well, when I now I do it like this, and I have this Roadcaster Pro. The
got the
box.
Gucci gear.
Yeah, but it's super good because it's all in one. It's got the little music thing and it integrates it and it processes it.
Yeah.
So it's actually taken a lot of time because I used to have a Tascam and the XLR mics and you'd record and then you'd have to sync it with the audio with video if you're doing that.
Yeah.
Or go through there and edit and do the processing. And this I could do an audio one post it out there in 30 minutes at the most. So it's really saved sometimes. People are interested in that. Otherwise, StreamYard is saved people a lot as well.
Yeah, I think the next big thing I'm looking to get is a stream deck or a loop deck or something to use with the video and everything. Because then it's like, I press a button and my intro will start playing and, bring in guests and everything else. So. Yeah.
You could, I don't know if you've tried the OBS software.
I've got it, and I've been monkeying around with it a little bit, and it's like, this is very complicated, and I wish I would have had like an extra set of hands to like do that part of it while I was doing the show. But yeah, it's like still that may be just a little ways out.
Yeah, so I had done that. I'd used that as well at one point. StreamYard or Zoom, one of those works better, I think, for bringing in guests. It's just super easy, and they're making better and better all the time. OBS is really good if you're doing kind of your own show and you're integrating but it takes a lot more computing power too. So there's like last time
trade off with everything. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So and then let's just make it as easy as possible. Like I said, this isn't. I don't know. Are you making a lot of money on your podcast?
Yeah, I bring in like a few bucks here and there. I have the Brave browser, so I've got like a BAT wallet hooked up to my Twitter account, and it's like always strange whenever I receive like $1 tip in basic attention token from it. It's like random, like one day it'll just say, such and such BAT has been deposited to your wallet, and it'll go and look, and I was like, oh, this came from Twitter. Somebody, tipped a tweet, which I think is a little strange.
It is, and I just got, let me see, I was going to go look at mine because I just got some deposited. I have like $30 in the BAT right now, just from browsing. I use it on all my browsers, my phone and everything.
Yeah, and you get the ad revenues if you click on the ads and stuff.
Right. So I maximize that up and I do it, and I'm just browsing all day. So it's I don't know. It's not Google. So
yeah, that's very true. Mine defaults to DuckDuckGo. I also use presearch, which has their own token, which is kind of okay. I haven't been so far impressed with the results that it gets because it'll find some weird stuff sometimes.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, presearch is a different kind of search engine, but they have like their own native token. It's called Pre, and you can get paid for searching for stuff on there. It'll drop like a few tokens every now and then while you're searching. But it's like the results, I've pulled it up with DuckDuckGo like on the side, and it doesn't even find some of the same results sometimes. So I don't know. It's probably still got a little ways to go on that one.
Oh, yeah. Let me pull this up here. I want to share the screen, and then we're going to talk maybe about, I just thought we'd talk about some of these things off. I don't know if you could even see that very well.
Oh, yeah. I saw this letter earlier about Rumble, like trying to sue Odyssey for a tweet.
Right. So I imagine you're probably on, stretch this out. You're probably on Odyssey as well.
Yes, I do Odyssey. I don't have enough over on YouTube yet where it automatically pulls. So I do have to manually upload over there still. But that's pretty good. Somebody tipped me $100 on there for my episode with Naomi Brockwell, which I thought was kind of wild.
Well, so tell me about who's Naomi Brockwell.
She does a lot of crypto reporting. She used to work for John Stossel, as one of like the producers and everything over there. My Halloween episode I did with her from last year, I was just like looking on Odyssey one day, and I noticed I had like over 100 library, and at the time it was like $1.16 or something. I was like, whoa, that's $100 tip. What the hell? I was like, thank you.
That is good.
Yeah.
I for me, you earn stuff over there, which is kind of cool, and then so it's almost easier to give money away on that sense as well.
Yeah.
So this is, I don't know if you saw this. So my big part on this one is Rumble. So Odyssey puts out a tweet about saying that Rumble is using some bots, and it's like a really short view time, and that it's all kind of a scam, and maybe the tweet was a little over the top. So Rumble puts out this press release saying, basically, you need to do that. Your company's tweet relies on statistics from SimilarWeb, a third-party monitoring site. We believe SimilarWeb includes videos viewed through Rumble's licensed player as part of its statistics. Blah 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 blah. So my thought on that is, well, they shouldn't be going after Odyssey.
Go after the third party. Yeah,
SimilarWeb.
Yeah, I'm not even a lawyer. When I was reading that, I was like, well, it sounds like you really have beef with the other person. You're just upset that Odyssey brought some attention to it, I guess, but...
Right. What do you think of the Rumble, Odyssey, these other spaces that are kind of getting into this, and what their use is? I mean, do you think it's you should be a little more weary of the Rumble?
Yeah, I've got a Rumble account, and I've never gotten any views over there whatsoever. It's like I've even tried like tagging stuff, like linking to it and everything, and it's just, I have no followers over there, no views or anything. So I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong with Rumble. But I was like, first looking at it, it's like kind of like the way you're set up is kind of strange. So yeah, I don't really like Rumble all that much. It was like kind of like a BitChute for me. You try to load a video onto BitChute, and it would process for hours and hours and hours. Then you would come back and just nothing. It would just still say processing. So you'd delete it, start it over again, and maybe you got lucky and the video got posted. So yeah, I think everyone's trying to beat that next YouTube. And right now, Odyssey's kind of clearly stepping ahead with everything. So I don't know. It's going to be kind of interesting to see. I think Rumble was owned by somebody else, and then it got sold not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken. So
I know that Drew Hancock put out a little thing today, and he's got a little bit of insight from working for Odyssey. Yeah, and he was I know Locals sold to Rumble recently. So
maybe that might have been what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Rumble's a Canadian company. They had when Trump came over there, he didn't want wanted a lot of anti-Israel talk taken down, and so they
almost immediately.
Yeah, so they did that, and so
where's Ryan Dawson with his bell?
Right. Do I have a bell here? No,
I don't know. This is not on the Roadcaster programmed yet.
There's soundboards. We have a few little.
Oh, that I need. That's like the soothing of the ego right there. It's like, oh, that joke I said was funny.
Right. That's all I've got. Justin chimes in again. Fact check that. I average about $2 a month. I'm going to buy a nice bottle of bourbon once it gets up to that point. Good job. I'm assuming he's talking about off his podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. There for a little bit, I had a one patron on there. It was like $4 a month. And I truly think the guy forgot that he was subscribed to me on Patreon, because at one point he stopped. So it's like maybe he got one of those little apps that tell you, like, oh, here's all the streaming services that you're not using, that you're paying for. And then he was like, oh, yeah, that guy.
You're like, wait, that's where I bought my coffee.
Exactly.
Imagine the taxes, or what you actually get from one person, by the time it's actually to you, the cut that they take, the Patreon. So you have a Patreon account then?
I did. After he got off, I was just not getting any traction on it either, so I stopped doing that for a while. I had a Subscribestar. I never got anything from that, so I stopped doing that. Occasionally I'll sell a t-shirt or two from Teespring. That's always kind of fun to see. The last one that went off pretty big was the Wild West Pimp style, after that stupid representative in Texas said that there's going to be blood flowing in the street and it's going to go back to Wild West Pimp style, and it's like, oh, you shouldn't have said those words.
Wow, I don't remember that. Wild West Pimp style.
Yeah, she was talking about, because they were going to do constitutional carry in Texas, so where you can legally openly carry it or concealed carry, and so she just thought every pimp that was going to go out and sex traffic these women. And she was calling it Wild West Pimp style, and I was like, oh, you don't know what you just did, but you just did it.
So you made a shirt. I didn't know about this. I'm gonna have to check.
Yeah, it had a nice little pimp hat and some cross pistols on it, and it just said Wild West Pimp style on it. That sold a few of those. It was really nice.
Did you give one to your kids at all?
No. My son pals around with the one with the voluntary V on it. It says "Don't hurt people and don't take their stuff" on it. So he likes that one.
Yeah, that's the Matt Kibbe book, right? Don't hurt people, don't take their stuff, which is a very easy way to distill that down. What about Matt Kibbe? Who's the biggest person? I know you said had Pete on your show, but who's the biggest guest you've been able to get?
Out of everybody, it's like I think Pete and Scott Horton are probably neck and neck. I've got goals. I kind of been angling to get Dave Smith on the show. I've pretty much had the Tower Gang folks on. They're still pretty big, and Naomi Brockwell, of course, that's another one. Tatiana Moroz, I had her on. She doesn't post too much anymore, but yeah, she was pretty big. Yeah, so I've had a few big guests, a whole bunch of little guests, medium-sized guests. So it's kind of like my lane right now. So So what was your method for getting those people on? So like I
for me, it seems really easy for a lot of these libertarians. Right? Pete actually, I reviewed his show, and I was already a member of his, and I just put it in his Discord, and then he contacted me, and he's like, "Hey, let's do this." I was like, "Oh, okay." Same with Josh actually. But what's been your method for going out and acquiring these?
Pretty much sliding up into their DMs is like usually the best way to do it. Occasionally you'll have to send an email with the calendar invites.
Yeah.
And make sure that you're like doing it during the day. It's like I remember I was trying to get Tatiana on, and we had to like schedule it for like the middle of the day, and everything else. I had to like take a day off of work and everything to do it. I was like, I'll get you on, no problem. Right. There was a lot of emailing back and forth after slid up in the DMs first. But so for the most part, it's pretty easy with the Liberty folk.
So my question with having Scott on, I've thought about this, and I'm like, I would love to do an interview with Scott, but he is. He goes so. My best interviews with Scott actually that I've listened to are when he is actually interviewing other people on his own show, because he then doesn't just talk. And honestly, I'm not as well versed in a lot of the things that I would want to stop him a lot and kind of re-explain. So, one, how did it go? Were you able to ask more than one question? And
I was able to worm my way in there every now and then, because with the Scott interview, you're kind of looking for just winding him up with a question and then just letting him go. That was kind of how it was with the Yemen thing. So he had to go like all the way back to the Obama presidency and kind of set it up. And every now and then I would work in, just trying to, ask a question to kind of keep it on task, and then would try to drop a joke every now and then. It went pretty well. I think we were on for like over an hour. So it was pretty in-depth episode.
I'll have to check that one out. I'm sure you've read his books, or did you just go in and say, hey, Yemen is what I want to talk about?
Yeah, initially that was right after I got the Parler account, because I was like, okay, well, these MAGA guys are always asking for proof, show me a citation. And so I was like, okay, I'll go to the source.
Right. Just got. I have found you. Just ask. I've yet to be told no. Oh, I got what you're saying, which is pretty cool since I'm really, really small. I think that's pretty much the way it is. I've had a few people on, and it seems pretty easy. So.
Kind of like in our circle, I don't think anyone's going to tell you no.
No, and there's this. Excuse me, David. His name David Brady. He's like 16 years old. He just started a podcast. He's got he had Justin O'Donnell on. He had Drew Hancock on, and he's this young kid, and he's learning. And those guys will go on the show, right? So it's not super difficult. And he had a full hour plus conversation with him, so he was able to engage them as well. So good for him.
Yeah, there you go.
It happens.
Yeah, I haven't been told no yet. I mean, it's just like trying to get him to answer a DM sometimes is a little bit much, but
right. So trying to get Dave on there might be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, that's who I was actually referring to. Yeah, I sent him a DM back in March, and it got read. I know that much because on Twitter I can see where the check mark lights up, and then just nothing after that. Every now and then I'll kind of send out another one, But it's just been kind of fun. It's like if you can get them to read the DM, usually they'll say yes. Dave seems like he's down for going on anyone's show too. So
yeah, he's well, I haven't asked him, but that would be the low point, I think. He ends up coming up here. So how often are you putting them out? You doing once a week?
Yeah, I try to get them out at least once a week. Sometimes I get pretty crazy, and sometimes I'll have like 2 live episodes like right in a row. I remember a couple of weeks ago it was like pretty much Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night I had somebody, so it was like it can get pretty crazy. I try to put them out at least once a week.
You feel that it's best to try to pick a day and do it? I know like Dan Smots, he's been doing like a Wednesday morning or something, and CD and some of these girls have been loving it, so there's like the Smots View or something, I think. Yeah,
it's I would love to just like set a date and time and say, be here at that time, and I'll go live and we'll talk about whatever. I'll have this guest or whatever. But I never know what's going to happen over there because working in engineering, I don't know if I'm staying late. I don't know if I got, kid duty that night or whatever. So, it's kind of all up in the air. But I try to get it out at least once a week.
Yeah, that's the tough part. For me, I work during the day, but as a lot of people do. But if my day is open, I'm wide open in the middle of the day to do a podcast. Yeah. Most people are like, oh, I'll do it in the evening. I'm like, oh, okay, that's when I'm at home with family. speaking of home with the family, I don't know if that's a good segue. Jesse Smollet.
Juicy Smollet.
He was found guilty, 5 of 6 charges.
Oh, that just came through then.
Just today I saw that. So it was all about, false reporting and whatnot. But he got one of telling a police officer that he had one of them they didn't take, but 5 felonies. So what's your any thoughts you want to take on that one?
I mean, wasn't it very obvious at the very beginning that was a hoax? It was like Chicago in the middle of the night, and you found a couple of country bumpkin white boys with MAGA hats on.
Yeah. What's interesting, you look back at, I had a Twitter thing over here where, that's all these check marks, Hollywood and news that are, at the time they were, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. And, one of the things they're talking about with Smollet is they may try to get restitution where he's going to have to pay back the city for the amount of money, 3,000 man hours. But my thought on that is also, why did they take that so seriously to begin with? I think that is just as much of a travesty. Now, look, you don't like hate crimes going on and all, but if it wasn't him, a black guy that's gay, that it was Trump MAGA hat, they would never have pursued it, I think.
Yeah, I think if the cops had where were you finding these MAGA hat people? It's like once you start asking questions, the whole story just fell apart. And I saw AOC left her tweet up defending him. That was from last year, I think. Yeah. I had retweeted that one. I said, still there. Look at that. And then I saw
a Brian Stelter one today.
Yeah, Brian Stelter is still seriously defending him, which I find is hilarious.
Right. Which I don't. And, at the time he's like, "Oh, we'll never know." I'm like, "Well, actually, we do now."
Yeah, we do. We know it was a setup from the word go.
Yeah, so I think it's a sad state that this is what happened. I was pretty shocked that they actually took him all the way into trial. Personally, on something like this, I'm like, I don't really care that you should be spending your time in jail. That doesn't seem productive to me at all. Yeah. But definitely be paying a lot of money. Yeah, if you want to pay the city back, I guess.
Yeah. Well, my concern with this is if they would have taken him still very seriously, they would have pulled a lineup of white people in there, and he would have pointed a couple of them out.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was willing to do that.
Yeah. And you try to imagine, you're just innocent, but you happen to, I guess, fit a description, and maybe you sort of live around that area. Well, and now you just got pointed out, and you definitely didn't do it. Yeah.
MAGA country. That's why.
Yeah. Yes, because we all know Chicago was so red during the 2016 election.
Right. So what's and we'll get out of here in a second. But what's kind of your thoughts going forward? Let's first said, hey, okay, you had been part of this Libertarian Party. You're not really doing that anymore.
Yeah.
I assume you're not really interested in all. But with that said, you kind of have some hope that a Dave Smith is going to make some excitement.
If Dave Smith ends up running, and he gets Maj Touré as his running mate, the amount of melted faces in the media will be worth it just for that alone.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know how to handle Trump, who was basically doing stand-up while he was giving speeches and everything. And they won't know how to handle that ticket at all. They will have no way but just to ignore it as much as possible. And I don't think Dave or Maj is going to let them ignore it.
No. I think Dave has been, and this may sound petty, or it's not petty, but naive, I guess. I don't know. You tell me what it sounds like when I tell you. I think the reason he's doing all these debates is with just a bunch of losers or anybody that really even wants to, is just to hone his ability to take everything as it comes and talk and to put something back and regurgitate what it out. I mean, he goes on Fox all the time and he's there talking with Kennedy, and he'll debate any of these people. So I could be wrong. I don't think there's any chance of winning or all, but
no.
Stirring the pot would be fun.
Yeah, and even when I was at the elections chair, I was like, look, you're not going to win this local race, but what you can do is get out there and try to educate these folks a little bit here and there. It's like if you're running out in a heavily red area, hit them from the right hand side. Just do what Scott Horton says, attack the right from the right. You'll probably make a little couple people question that, and maybe the point totals go down for that one Republican candidate, and maybe they can see, oh, maybe we got to step our game up. So yeah, there's something to that of the libertarians in a certain area is like, look, we're going to screw over your elections from here on out unless we get these certain things done. And so maybe that's how we achieve it. Who knows? But yeah, I think just seeing Dave up on a debate stage with anybody, or just even just going on Joe Rogan or whatever, where Joe Rogan's audience is dwarfs that of Fox News and CNN. So yeah, it's going to be fun to kind of watch the next couple of years.
Yeah, and you mentioned Joe Rogan. I think he's taken a decisive move, and maybe not so much of a decisive move, but he's blocked out, I think, some of his left portions of his life.
Yeah.
To match the state of affairs of the over zealous authoritarian the system that we have going on. I think he's realized some of that. So he may not be a righty, he may not be a libertarian, but I don't think he's as lefty as he had been sympathetic to before.
Yeah, I think getting out of Southern California was probably a good idea for him.
Yeah.
Moving to Austin, Texas, as left as that place is, will still do wonders for somebody's psyche, just like, oh, there is a completely different way to live that isn't as scary as I was made to believe it was.
Right, and you got to kind of get yourself out of those environments to realize that.
Yeah.
So anyway, do you think Madge Ture would be the
Yeah, there was talk of him running on the vice president, the vice president, because in the Libertarian Party we don't.
Right.
Yeah, they don't have just the candidate chooses his thing. They have to actually vote on their vice presidential candidate, which I think is actually it's kind of an odd system, but at the same time it does kind of make things a little bit interesting. And to think we could have had Larry Sharp on that Gary Johnson ticket by just like 47 votes or whatever. So
yeah,
how differently would that campaign would have turned out?
Yeah, completely. I mean, it goes back to the days of the good old days of Thomas Jefferson. Isn't that how we got Aaron Burr? I mean, there was the debate there of the person that came in second was the VP. I think that's how our presidential election.
Yeah, the presidential race, that was how it was decided. Whoever got first was president, whoever got second was the vice president.
Right. Which the LP
could you imagine that today?
Right. Well, so these are just all these things going in my head now. Did you see the Hillary Clinton speech that she read?
God.
About
I have serious problems watching her doing anything because I'm just like, why are they talking to a murderer? She's right there. Do something about her.
She's right there. It's a serial killer right there. But she was crying, and this is the speech she would have given if she had won the who
It's like, why? Don't even.
That's the saddest thing and most pathetic. And then she kind of was doing a little teary thing. And when you see that it's the speech she would have given that no one cares that she has still.
Yeah.
And it was in a special book. I'm like, I don't have any sympathy. Well, I wouldn't have any sympathy anyway. But did you go listen and watch that?
I caught like a couple of clips on it. As soon as we got the crocodile tears, I was like, oh my God, she's faking it. She's acting. Not even all that well.
Right.
Justin's not a human person. No. Incapable of having tears.
Exactly. Think of a Biden presidency with a Trump VP. Oh my God, that's comedy gold. Did you see? There was a clip of going into the rotunda where Bob Dole was being laid to rest, and Kamala Harris is in there, and then Biden comes in there, and someone sent me a video where it's kind of he sees Kamala, and he goes and sits next to her, and then he's standing and he switches with his wife because he doesn't want to be next to her.
I didn't see that, but that's hilarious.
That was the worst. What a toad. She will roast the demons. Yes, she's pretty nasty.
Yep.
Huh.
Yep. Well, she is pretty much the reason why we need to owe David Icke an apology. They may not actually be lizard people, but damn, don't they act like it.
Speaking of lizard people, Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, you followed that at all?
Yeah, thanks to Trial Tracker on.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like thanks to the Trial Tracker that was on Twitter that got banned, and then the other account that was tracking Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio that got banned. That got banned too because it's the same guy that runs it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he's been posting it on Patreon1.substack Smollet.com. So if you want to catch up with the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff, he's posting it over there. So far, Substack hasn't taken stuff down, so we'll see.
Yeah, that's probably good. I haven't really followed along with that. Trump Speaker of the House, that would memes forever. I'm done with Trump personally.
That's the QAnon wish list right there. Oh, we'll just make Trump Speaker of the House, and then he'll just declare himself president. Yeah.
Right. Are you ready for more Trump? Do you want more Trump? I mean, he said if he runs again, but he's getting old. You know, we kind of missed his big time by 20 years, I think.
Yeah, it's I kind of like it when he dunks on the media. Yeah. I think that's pretty much the most libertarian, graciousness that you can handle. Is like, okay, well, he's exposed the media for being the idiots and black-hearted people that they are. That would be like the only thing that would be worth it, is just seeing the media blow up about it again. As you can even still see it today that they still have TDS. So, but yeah, I don't think he should run again. He's definitely old. Get Eric Trump in there, because then the media would really lose their minds, because a pro-gun guy.
Yeah. So have you followed him much?
Just a little bit here and there. Surprisingly, he still has his Twitter account. But I guess they figure he's a small fish or whatever.
So Eric Trump, I don't follow him much. Donald Trump Jr. was the one that seemed to be more vocal. Is that correct?
Yeah, you know what? I might have been transposing the two in my head. Okay. But yeah, it's probably Don Jr. maybe.
He was I saw him on some interviews, and I don't know. I find him to be insufferable, in a different way.
That whole family is just god awful.
Yeah. We've got another one here. Justin says it's definitely time to move on from Trump.
Yeah.
Fun while it lasted, but it's time to get serious, regardless of how you feel about the GOP. I don't know about it's time to get serious.
No, I think we just need to make it more of a mockery.
Right. Oh, I hope we get a better candidate, but more interested in the primaries. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Maj Touré, we'd have to vote that in. Could you imagine if it's Dave and like Joe Jorgensen?
Oh my God.
Berman Supreme. Dave's trying to smoke a message, and this guy's shitting in his boot.
Not Mr. Boot. Oh no.
Yeah, well, Eric, why don't you tell us all about yourself, where you can find it, and I will have your link tree in the description of the show, so people can find everything they want to.
Definitely go down to the link tree. Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube, Rebel with a Cause podcast, on Odyssey, Rebel with a Cause. Hit me up on Twitter. It's RWAC podcast, like you see down below. And if you could find me on Float, it's also Rebel with a Cause over there. Float's kind of coming up as the social media thing to be. They're going to have their own tokens coming soon. So, and I had Aaron on, that's co-owner of it, started it and everything else. So yeah, go find me all over there. So it's a pretty good time. But yeah, the link tree will definitely help. It'll point you in the right direction.
All right. I appreciate you coming on. And I appreciate you having me on last week. I did not get to DM you about that specifically, but I knew you were coming on here.
Yeah.
I really did appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah, appreciate it. And we'll have to do it again. Everybody, Libertarian Podcast Review, episode 27. We're moving slow, but it happens. So
yeah, you'll be at 100 before you know it.
Maybe so. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I just started live streaming. Cut me some slack. I'm pretty high tech for a boomer. But anyways,